Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures, and it's Friday, or at least it is when I'm putting this up. And that means it's time for another Obscurity in Literature, and you may be looking at this book in front of you thinking, hey, wait a sec, High Lord Tamberlin, you already did this book. And you know what? You are 100% correct, I did. We recently showed off the Dragon Universe, put out by Ablaze Books, and I saw this cover by an artist that I truly enjoy, Olivier Ledroit, and I realized, you know what? Ablaze also put out, in English, the fairy books that Ledroit had done. Ta-da! That's actually what we're going to talk about today. So we've got the Fairy Universe by Olivier Ledroit. And let me be upfront. I'm not a fan of fairies. It's just overplayed, overdone. It's just not my thing. I know a lot of people are interested in it. But then I was like, just looking at the absolute detail and intricacy of what he is doing with those fairies, and I'm like, dang, I'm a sucker. Now, admittedly, I do own the big, huge illustration collection of Ledroit's, and I did a video on it once upon a time. If you want to search through the videos that I've posted, you'll find all sorts of interesting stuff. And there were a lot of fairy illustrations in that book as well, and I want to say some of these might have popped up in that originally. But this book itself is actually two books, I believe, when published in France. And so they have translated everything and given us a nice single volume collection. And again, the level of detail is just absolutely beautiful. I mean, I'm not a fan of fairies, but I will say I am a fan of Ledroit's art, and it never fails to impress. So you can see here we have a part 1 and a part 2 being the original 2 books. And I will caution that if you are a little put off by copious amounts of toplessness, that might be a bit of a red flag for you. There's a lot of nudity in this book. But it's, you know, it's not, I think, in a titillating manner. I don't think it's meant to excite so much as be free and natural. So every page, much like the Dragon Ablaze book, has a little bit of text accompanying it. The Pistrol. Much of it not super important, but just like, look at the detail in just the wing membranes that he's got going on. Just the patterning. I can only imagine the amount of reference materials and time that must have been poured into getting that right butterfly look. And I love how some of this stuff just has that dark, twisted nature. And coming off of books that Ledroit has worked on, like Wicca, like Requiem, it doesn't come as a surprise. In fact, we have Elzecure, the Cursed here, who looks like he literally stepped off the page of Requiem. Now that's a book I'd love to see get put back into circulation in the English-speaking world. Maybe Ablaze will get around to doing this. Funny thing, though, is this book actually calls out Ledroit's illustrating of the Chronicles of, what is it, the Black Moon? I believe that's the name of it. The Vorak. Again, just all the different textures, colors, patterns going on there. I'm going to save some stuff for you. Love this illustration. I mean, the sword looks like something, well, if you've seen like his Heroes of Might and Magic illustrations, or like I keep touting Requiem, a lot of this should look very familiar in terms of style, at least. And again, I love the fact that just pages have multiples of these fairies and just their wings going on. The Farandole, if I'm reading that correctly. This is a cool one. It's kind of like bits and pieces are unfinished here, but then it actually continues on to the next page. So you could only imagine the size and scope of some of these illustrations. Of course, if you've seen his other works, you know the man works on gigantic canvases and with ridiculous sized material. Very much some atmospheric pieces here. We got all kinds of other fairies flopping around here. Vicodin. And here we have the frontispiece. Right, actually, that's a cover piece, wasn't it? I believe this is when book 2 starts. So you got a good chunk. The pages aren't numbered, but, you know, nice substantial amount of illustrations still waiting for you. Some nice big spreads. Oh, this looks like it was originally one of those 4-page spreads as well, but we only get it as a double gatefold. I kind of wonder, maybe some of you who have the French editions can shed some light if those were larger renditions exactly. A very prototypical Ledroit looking heroic. Oh, and he's a vampire. No wonder, I was going to say. Just, again, the crazy amount of detail. I don't even think he's repeated any of these patterns that are just popping up on random pages in the background, just kind of clutter for some of these illustrations. And yet, all these fairies have their own wing things going on here. And obviously, we're skipping bits and pieces because we don't want to ruin and spoil everything for you. There's definitely a lot to like here. Come on, that's just gorgeous work. Most of these are just gigantic canvases that he was working on as well. So yeah, where did I see that about? Yeah. Designer of the Chronicles of the Black Moon. I would love to see somebody translate that. I mean, it's pretty middle-of-the-road fantasy from what I can tell and what I've been able to kind of get out on my own, but the man is a certified artist when it comes to the amount of craft that he pours into his work. Naturally, we like to show off some of it. We want to keep a bit of surprise for you. But I mean, if you do enjoy that, I would also suggest track this down. This is Wicca. I think one of his most easily accessible works in English at this point, and this is just another absolutely massive tome, and you can really see where he kind of goes wild with his illustrations. Sort of, kind of, I guess, if you have it all zoomed in. It has more of these big, crazy, ridiculous spreads. This is like literally a 4-8 panel piece of art. It's ridiculous, but yeah, that's Olivier Ledroit's art in a nutshell for you. So if you like fairies, if you like fantasy, and if you like really well designed, artistically pleasing books, definitely take a look at this one. Fairy Universe by Olivier Ledroit. So yeah, with that said, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.